In this module, we're going to look at nomenclature, and we're going to specifically look at the nomenclature of acids. Acids are chemicals that we quite frequently use in chemistry, and we're going to define an acid as a chemical that looks like an ionic compound, but the cation is hydrogen, so it's all nonmetals. Because of that, it behaves both like an ionic and a covalent compound, so it has its own naming system. Hydrogen is a cation, so if you ever see a chemical with hydrogen written first, that means the name ends in acid. First part of the name takes the root of the element that is in it, other than hydrogen, because typically we'll have an ide, ate-iter ending, so there's a nonmetal in there. The acid ending is based on the type of anion in the compound, and right now we know of anions that can end three different ways. They can end in ide, ite, or ate. If the anion is an ate acid, or if the anion is ate, then the acid is an ic acid. If the anion is ite, then the acid is an us acid. The anion is an ide, then the acid has a prefix and a suffix, and it's a hydroic acid. So we look at HCl. There's a hydrogen, so it is an acid. Cl is the chloride ion. Because it ends with ide, that means it is going to be a hydroic acid, and we get the root from chlor, so that is hydrochloric acid. And that's the most common one we'll use. You definitely need to have that one memorized. We have H3PO4. H is written first. Does not matter how many there are. It does not have to be one. It could be two. It could be three. If there is H written first, it is an acid. If I look at the PO4 from the polyatomic ion module, we learned that this is the phosphate ion. And if it ends in ate, then the acid is just an ic acid. The root is phosp from the phosphate, so it is phosphoric acid. We kind of add the or because it sounds better than phosphoric acid, although both would be accepted. So H3PO4 is phosphoric acid. If I get the name, like sulfuric acid, because I see the word acid, I know that the cation is H, and hydrogen as a cation has a charge of 1+. It's in the alkali metals column, so it's treated just like an alkali metal. If I look at the front, I see the sulfuric, because it ends in ic. That means it is the ate ion. So sulfuric lets me know that sulfate is the anion, and sulfate is SO4 with a charge of 2-. Once I know the cation and the anion, I put it together like any other ionic compound. I need 2 plus 1s to balance out the 2-, so that means I need to have H2SO4, and that would be the formula for sulfuric acid. So that's how we can figure out the names following a list of rules. But there also are not a whole lot of acids that we use in chemistry. So you could get by just by memorizing the acids that are common. The common acids, most important one, hydrochloric acid, HCl. Another one that we use is acetic acid. That is just adding a hydrogen to the acetate ion. Remember, ic means ate. And there's two formulas for the acetate ion, so it could be HC2H3O2 or HCH3COO. Again, second most common one we use. Sulfuric acid, very common, H2SO4. Phosphoric acid, pretty common, H3PO4. Nitric acid, pretty common, HNO3. If you learn these 5 acids, you'll be able to use most of the acids that we use in class. The rest of them we don't use in lab, but we sometimes use in paper assignments. Hydrofluoric acid is HF. Hydroiodic acid is HI. Hydrobromic acid is HBr. Chloric acid, coming from the chlorate ion, would be HClO3. Chlorous acid, coming from the chlorite ion, would be HClO2. And perchloric acid, coming from the perchlorate ion, which means it has one more oxygen than 8, would be HClO4. So you can learn the rules for acids, or you can memorize this list of acids. Either one will get you through what you need to know for the honors chemistry course. Oh, forgot one. Nitrous acid is HNO3, coming from the nitrite ion. Now you can memorize the list. If we look through that, I think this ends the module on acid nomenclature.